Say goodbye to tomorrow, man. I'm gonna live for today. Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna use my past. Gonna learn from my mistakes. Say goodbye to tomorrow, man. I'm going my way. I'm gonna live my life. It's gonna be a good day. I'm gonna live my life. It's gonna be a good day.
Hello, St. Rose. Thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of St. Rose Rocks, music for the Golden Knights by the Golden Knights. We are back for a limited run, trying to get you guys to the end of the semester, into your winter break, to hopefully enjoy the holidays as best as you can in a year such as this. But regardless, the holidays should be great, and we're wishing you all the best. And with that being said, we're wishing you all the best with some fantastic music and a great singer-songwriter nonetheless, Sydney Schizzano. Sydney, how are you?
I am swell. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very well. So, Sydney, could you tell us about the first song that you're going to be showing us today?
Yeah. Okay. So the first song is a song called Not Ready. I released it back in May in the full swing of the pandemic, so I guess I got something done. My friend and I'm going to plug his name until I die, Zach Rapone. He is a fantastic human, a fantastic engineer, a fantastic producer, and just like my absolute favorite person in the whole wide world. We worked on this song together, and pretty much what it's about is I wrote it while I was living in Albany. And I wrote it actually while I was in my car driving to McDonald's to get myself a Dr. Pepper at like 11:30 at night. And I was like sitting in my car with my Dr. Pepper, and it was like snowing, and I was like, I don't want to get out of the car. It's warm in here, and I don't want to go into the house. And then I started thinking, like, I don't want to have to move back home. Like, I don't want to have to try to look for a job and get turned down so many times because I'm unqualified. I don't want to have to do all these things. And it just kind of perpetuated into this bigger idea of like, I'm not ready for this stuff. I'm not ready to be an adult and like to you know, like make these big decisions. Like, where do I want to live? Like, where do I want to work? What do I want to work as? Obviously, I want to work as a musician, but in what facet do I want to do that? You know, I don't want to work in publishing. My brain just doesn't work that way. I wanted to work as an engineer, but I had no experience. You know, I wanted to be a songwriter, but like, how do I do that? You know, and it was so many of these questions of just like, I'm not ready to face this stuff. So I'm going to sit in my car and drink my Dr. Pepper until I get tired, and I'll go upstairs and I'll go to sleep. So that's pretty much what the song's about, but it's hidden underneath a little groove. So you can kind of dance cry while you listen to it. And Zach Rapone was a huge help with transforming this song into what it sounds like now. It was completely different, and I wish I had an early stage recording for everyone to listen to because it literally did a 180, and he saved this song. So like I said, Zach Rapone, hit him up. He's a genius. It's on all streaming platforms, so if you want to listen to it, go type in the stuff. It's a little weird. It's not, the not is in the parentheses, and then ready, not ready.
The story of the song is a good mindset for, you know, probably what a lot of people are feeling right now. So I hope all of you guys out there will get something out of this song, just like I have when it came out over the summer. Great song. This is Not Ready by Sydney Schizzano.
Get out of the car, not ready to give in to it all, not ready to go out into the world, not ready to get over this girl.
you graduated class of 2018, correct?
That is correct.
So
Ugh.
I get that feeling. I've just been out for a semester and I'm feeling as well.
So old, yes.
I get that. I feel that. Bring us back to the beginning of when you entered St. Rose and your time at St. Rose, and then kind of how you've transitioned outward now into the artist and professional you are now.
Sweet. Adulthood, as we say. When I was actually auditioning for colleges, St. Rose wasn't really on my radar until my English teacher, funny enough, was like, hey, you should check out the school. You're doing music. Here you go. And I was like, oh, sick. And I visited and I was like, sold, like done, which was really cool. I met like Sean McClowery at my audition and stuff, and he was like mad sweet, the gem of a human he is. For me, college was like a huge metamorphosis for me. Got to meet new people and like experience independence for like the first time, really coming from Long Island, New York, and experiencing a different side of New York was really exciting. And like meeting the gem of human beings that I met along with yourself was just like so awesome. And coming out of that has been really, I don't know what word to say, because I don't want to say like difficult, like it was like the worst experience I've ever had in my life, because like obviously like it's just another chapter of your life. But let me tell you, it felt like the floor was ripped out from under me. I think you get so used to just being surrounded by this group of people and this, family that you create away from your other family from where you grew up. Like you wake up on graduation and it just feels like, oh, okay, graduation. Like it doesn't feel like it's actually gonna happen. And then I remember being totally fine the whole day. I got in the car, was driving home to Long Island, and was just bawling my eyes out. And you don't expect it to hit you, I don't think, until it's already hit you. And then you're like, oh, okay. And keep in mind, this was the year where me, and a couple of my friends, you guys may know them, Zach Rapone and Julia Gardner, we were planning to live together in Albany for the next coming year. So with even that in mind, I was like, oh my God, it's over. How did this happen? I think just time insanely flies. And I don't think anybody really tells you that like, not that time flies, everyone says that, but like that when college is over, it might be a hard transition. Like it might not. You could totally rock it and be like, thank God I'm out of that place, and like waltz off and be totally fine. But at the end of the day, I remember being like, no one told me it was going to be this hard. And then trying to navigate how you want the rest of your life to look like has been a really interesting thing to navigate by yourself. Like, of course you have your family and your parents or your friends and stuff, but at the end of the day, if you want to get something done, there's no due date somebody's asking for. You're not going to get a penalty if you don't do it. If you want to make music and you want to make an album, there is no graduation deadline that you have to have it done by. So it went from being everything laid out for you and then just being like, okay, now go do it. Go ahead, little chicken, fly. And it's like, what? So I understand that was probably not the most positive answer that anybody was looking for, but it was definitely real. Exactly. It's extremely true to what I have felt. And now that I'm 2 years out of it, that first year was hard to navigate. The first couple months was hard to navigate, really. And then, you find your footing, you get a job. Even if it's not your dream job, you get a job. And you start working. And you start writing music. And then you say, oh, this is trash, throw it out. Or, oh, this is great, I'll keep it. You start figuring out, okay, this is just how life's going to be now. And I can make it how I want it to be. Or I could just follow the path that has been laid out in front of me. And it's all on me. It's my decisions. And that can be extremely liberating, as long as I think you're ready for it.
No, I really appreciate the real answer that you gave, because I think that's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people who are exiting college. those who are still in it are about to face it. People in my class, though different set of circumstances, we're still feeling it nonetheless.
For sure.
And it's just going to be an interesting time to navigate through altogether. And as you were saying, you were navigating your way through in the past 2 years. Could you tell us things that you did in order to, quote unquote, find your way in a sense?
So like I said, right after college, right after graduation, I went home for like a weekend or a week or so. And then I went back to Albany and I lived with my two best friends, best homies. They're near and dear to my heart, Julia and Zach. All three of us made that decision of like, we're going to stay in Albany to help Sydney. We're going to stay here to be in her band, and we're going to push, and we're just going to do it. And I think that was really difficult for us to kind of start, because we were also like, well, we have rent to pay too, and we have to buy groceries, and we have to do all these other things to like keep on living. Trying to navigate that and, wanting to be more of a band rather than, just me. It was still my name, but like I wanted every show to not just be me. I love playing with these humans, and I just want them to be involved as much as possible. So it was tough though, because we had to, go with other people's schedules. And that's just the real deal. We were so used to being in college and being like, hey, you free right now? It's 11:30. Okay, yeah, sure. Like, and then it turned into, hey, you free right now? No, it's 11:30. I have to work at 7. Like, it turned into such a different thing where you're like, I'm not in college anymore. Now I'm an adult. Like, I'm confused. So I think it was hard in that aspect to continue on, but I tried to keep some normalcy of like, okay, I'm not forced to do music anymore. This is now a voluntary thing. I want to say forced, I just mean like I don't have classes to go to. I don't have songwriting due by the end of the week. You know what I mean? It's up to me to do that now. I tried to create a schedule for myself of like, all right, I'm gonna wake up 8 o'clock. I don't work until 3. Wake up 8 o'clock, go to the gym, do whatever you got to do, because as we talked before, health is important. Come home and do music. Do something. Like, it doesn't matter. Don't get on the couch and watch Netflix for hours. Actually do something. And I would just try to make stuff. Like, even if it was not great, like I would just open up Pro Tools, play around, and try anything to get those gears going. And it was tough. I think it can be really exciting, but it's also scary, because when we graduated, our goal was like, okay, let's do a tour. Like, nothing fancy, DIY weekend. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it was like 5 days. Like, we took 2 cars, and we all 6 of us, we took Nick Papalardo with us, we took Russell, and we took Alexia Wilson, and we all piled in these cars and just drove north and played these empty shows. Empty. And they're fantastic stories, because like I had like a mental breakdown in the parking lot while eating like a Burger King sandwich that Zach made me eat because I hadn't eaten all day. Like, you just have those moments that like now make you laugh, but at the moment are like, what are we gonna do? Because we're playing to an empty show, and I feel like so-and-so doesn't want to be here. You know what I mean? There are so many other things going on, and I'm missing work today. What if I don't make rent? Like, there are so many things, especially as the front runner of the group. I felt like there was a lot of pressure to make it worth it, to make this worth it, because it's exhausting. We're sleeping on couches, and we're driving at 3 a.m. and we're eating fast food every night. And again, it was only 5 days. It makes me sound like it was like a year, but it was emotionally taxing. But that was a new experience that, I had never experienced. Zach had gone on tour before, but I hadn't. And it was a really interesting, a different or a different perspective, because we went from playing basement shows at St. Rose and having a dope time, and everybody being into every single person on stage, and it was like a community, and we were just like all vibing out, to playing a show to 4 people in the middle of like Lancaster. All right, on to the next city. Like, it can be really, really devastating, or I don't know, devastating is really dramatic, but like, it can be a bit like, wow, like, am I going to keep doing this? And we did another weekender and it was a little bit more successful. And then, we kind of took a break because it was winter and started working on the album. And then I moved home. I moved home to Long Island the year after that. And I've been here for a year. So it's like, it's been a bit of a rocky road. And I think a lot of people expect college to just kind of like, you get out, you've done an internship already, so maybe you can just get a job there and then you're good. But sometimes that's not what happens for people. It all depends on what you want your journey to be. And I think deciding that right out of college is really tough.
A lot of what you said, I've been feeling recently myself. I had a tour I was planning right before everything shut down.
No.
And it was like, as soon as I graduate, go on this tour, and then I start this job or restart this job with people I was already with, and it's going to be great. And but you can't plan for some of these things at times, and just the way that things pan out, can be ridiculous. Regardless of it, you continue to choose music, and that takes a lot of determination, that takes a lot of perseverance, that takes a lot of things inspiring you. So that brings me to the next thing I wanted to talk about. What are the things that inspire you? What are your inspirations that got you into music, and what are things that inspire you today?
When I was younger, like, music was just kind of like a family affair. Like, my mom isn't really, I mean, she loves music, but she doesn't really play anything. She makes a joke that, like, when she was a kid, she asked for a guitar, but my opa, who's my grandpa, gave her an accordion instead, and she was like, forget this. I'll do something else. And so my dad plays trumpet, and that he's been always playing throughout our childhood. And me and my sister sang together with my cousin and all that good stuff. And so when I was a kid, music was always around. It wasn't like, I hear some of these stories of like, I heard that one person and bam, I fell in love with music. It was just kind of like always around. And I was always kind of like, yeah, what are we going to do today? Are we going to learn a Green Day cover, or are we going to dance to ABBA? Which one is it? Like, it was always like with my cousin and my sister. So inspiration was never far because we were always just vamping off of each other, just like having fun with music in our daily lives. When I got older, of course I started listening to, like, me and my sister started like listening to like JoJo. That was, I remember, like our first artist who wasn't like super Disney or like super like musical theater or anything like that. Like JoJo was a big thing when we were kids. Ali and AJ was a big thing when we were kids, still a big thing. Like, and then as like Demi Lovato, and then I started getting into like Paramore, and then I started to have like a thing with like Breaking Benjamin, and then I would go over to more of like the R&B and like discover Childish Gambino and like all of these different artists kind of being thrown at me at once. I just felt like a kid in a candy store. Like when Twilight first came out, or it was either Twilight or like New Moon or something, with this soundtrack, I would listen to it all the time. I was like, I've been listening to like Disney for my whole life. And then like I hear this like indie like beautiful like Iron and Wine, and then like Bon Iver, and all of these like really experimental musicians come into my view as a young adult, and I'm like, whoa, I never knew this existed. And then Sufjan Stevens, and now Phoebe Bridgers, and like Frank Ocean, and all of these genius musicians, I listen in awe. And there are just moments when I'm listening to a song and I'm just like, holy crap, that was dope. And just like, you know what I mean? You just don't know what to do with yourself, and you think, I wish I could make stuff like that. And then you trying to find where I fit in with all of this stuff. I'm also trying a thing where I'm trying to, and we'll hear it later with the song that I brought in, incorporate other styles of sound too. Like this whole album that I'm working on has a lot of like phone sound communication. It's based on like communication. So like voicemails people have left me. I've had people record messages on their phone and just send them over to me, and whether it's a script or whatever they kind of want to say, have them send them back and forth, and trying to incorporate those kinds of things to really incorporate things that maybe non-musicians can really be like, oh yeah, I totally get that. Like there's no metaphor, there's no musical representation of what they're trying to say. They're just saying it. Everybody can listen to music. Us musicians who went to music school, we understand music a little bit differently, right? Not saying that non-musicians don't understand music, they totally do, they're geniuses. But like, you know, we've been forced to over listen and to, yeah, it's like you can't listen to anything anymore without being like, oh, this is awesome or this is trash. I wanted something for non-musicians, my non-musician friends to be like, oh, that's what you're saying this whole time? Totally, dude. And be like, yeah, man. Like, you know, there are so many other parts of music that we're missing, I think, with music, like with our songwriting. And I'm trying to incorporate as many of those into this new album as possible. So I'm trying to find inspiration in other things other than just other musicians.
You're a melting pot of everything that you have in your life. And the way that you described it so well, from early Disney Channel to Twilight to all the things you're listening now. And by the way, I'm not a fan of Twilight, but that album was fantastic.
Yes.
I will give them that. If there's
not a great movie.
If there is any good that came out of Twilight other than Robert Pattinson now being Batman, it's that album in particular. I know what you're talking about.
Seriously.
So very, very good stuff. So I have to bring this up. COVID-19, 2020, everything just kind of shuts down, pauses, plans are halted, things are all over the place, emotions erupting. What a year! And we're almost done with this year.
Thank
Yay!
God.
But with that being said, though, what was that like for you as an artist and as an individual dealing with this time period?
It was definitely, like, that's my answer. So before, I've been working on this album, right? When quarantine first started, obviously terrifying, and part of me was kind of like, selfishly, like, now I'm forced to work on my music. Like, now I have this time of, like, creativity, and I can just sit in my basement and work on music all day because I can't go anywhere else. Like, you know, my job kind of halted for a while, you know, working for my dad in the insurance agency. You know, with what I do there, I couldn't really do at home. So he was just kind of like, you know, chill. And I was like, cool. With teaching, that kind of also was put on a halt for a second because we had to figure out how we were going to do it. So I had these, you know, 2 weeks of like time by myself. And I was like, here we go, man. And that did not happen. This whole year has been a dumpster fire, obviously. And so many people have been so affected. People have lost their jobs. People have lost loved ones. I lost my cousin May to it, and it was just like absolutely horrendous.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. I was just like, this can't be like what people are saying it is. No way. As it progressed, and as I saw people were getting sick, and as I saw somebody in my own family get sick, it was a lot. And being away from my loved ones, my girlfriend and I having to do months of quarantining. We were afraid. Forget this, man. Like, I love you so much, but thank God for FaceTime, because I couldn't imagine if I had it and gave it to you and your family. As the winter's coming back around, it's getting a bit nerve-wracking again of like, are we gonna have to do this again? You know, we might have to. As much as I've tried to use the time productively, I think a part of me just needed to like mourn not even obviously the loss of my cousin May, but even just the loss of like, life is gonna be mad different now. With all of the social justice protests going on and Black Lives Matter popping up was also like a big like, like it was heavy, and it felt like all of this was happening at once, and you're wondering why all this is happening at once. Not that it wasn't happening before. We've always had a division problem in this country, you know, not just based on race, but on a lot of different fronts. it was a lot of like sitting down and just talking with friends and like trying to see how we can improve on what's happening and talking to family. I am terrified of confrontation. I know. Me being a Gemini, people would think I would be into that kind of thing. No, thank you. I hate confrontation. It's too much now at this point. I can't help but keep my mouth shut when people say something stupid. Like, and I don't mean to paint it so black and white like that, but at the end of the day, I just hate the idea of somebody feeling uncomfortable just by somebody else making a comment, let alone losing their life and being in actual danger. So at this point, I was just trying to do anything that could improve the situation at all. And especially while this was all happening in quarantine and you were stuck in your house and feeling isolated as ever as the country is being torn apart. It was a big time to, I think, sit and allow yourself to, process and be like, okay, this is happening. What are we going to do about it? Like, let's get a plan. Let's, but sitting in your feelings and recognizing that this is a horrible, horrible time and you just want it to be over. But at the same time, people are like, I want to go back to how it was. And I was like, I want to go new. I don't want to go back because back wasn't too great either. Let me tell you, even just this year of having my own personal awakening, I guess, realization of like my gender identity and stuff and just being like, well, yeah, okay, I'm a girl, but like I don't want to wear that stuff. It's hard because you want to find like a reason why this is all happening. And it's one of those things where you just don't have an answer. And you just kind of have to pull up the bootstraps and continue on. So long story short, 2020 sucks, and I would like it to be over.
Well, we're almost over. We are in December now. 2021 will be just around the corner, and we'll make the year will be what we make of it. And with the year that we just had now, I think everybody is going to make an extra effort to truly seize the day when it comes to 2021. Fingers crossed.
I hope so. Yeah, really. Let's get our stuff together.
Oh, God, let's hope so. Sydney, could you tell us about the second song that you're going to be showing us today?
Sure thing. The second song that I'm going to be playing for you guys is an unreleased song. I know. Nobody steal it. It is not completely finished yet, so don't judge it. But I wanted to share it to kind of give people a glimpse of what the new project is all about. And pretty much, I will try to give the broad strokes, but I cannot promise you that. Pretty much, this song is about, when I was in college, I had my first real relationship. And when I say real relationship, I mean, one, it was my first relationship with a girl. So that was a big jump. I had a boyfriend in high school, but that was like 3 months. And I was like, get away from me. And so, going into college and having my first girlfriend, I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is like what it's all about. This makes sense. Totally. Okay, cool. And then, I was still a kid though. We dated for like 2 years and I was learning who I was learning about the world, and I was learning, about how a relationship is supposed to navigate. The relationship ended up ending, but I held a lot of guilt for that. It's not easy to, look at somebody who you care about and be like, I don't want to be with you anymore. It's really painful and you have to deal with that guilt yourself, and nobody can take that away from you. And I struggled with that for a long time, to the point that I wrote this song. It was the year after I graduated. It was like winter after I graduated. So I guess still 2018. We had broken up in 2017. So I was still dealing with that guilt. And it was a late night. The song's called It's Late, by the way. I was just feeling really like garbage. And I was just sitting there being like, at the time I was living with my two best friends, as I said before. But we had barely seen each other. Like all of our work schedules were off. Zach was driving from New York City to Massachusetts, back to Albany to do like 3 different internships at one time because he's crazy. I know. Don't even get me started on it. Don't even get me started. Julia was working a total opposite schedule of me. I worked in the afternoons. She worked in the morning and night. So by the time she was coming home, I was going to work. By the time I was coming home, she was going back to work. So it was a lot of time spent alone when I was living with like my 2 favorite people. So I was not only dealing with, you know, the loneliness of where are my friends, I was also dealing with, you know, like I'm still holding on to this guilt, and I really have nobody to talk to about it right now because everyone else is busy, which I don't blame them. Like, you gotta work. While I'm also thinking about this girl who I had met, you know, while I was in college, who I couldn't stop thinking about, who is now my current girlfriend. Shout out to Maria. But, you know, I couldn't stop thinking about her and being like, I'm just sitting here, I'm feeling guilty about one thing, I'm feeling lonely about another thing, and I'm feeling like I'm crazy because I'm still thinking about this girl that I had met 2 years prior, and I couldn't get her off my mind, and she was dating somebody else. So I was kind of like, who do I talk to? How do I communicate? And pretty much the song is laid out as you'll hear. I'm leaving a message for somebody, and at the end I make a decision that is, I think, interesting. I'll leave it at that. You guys can make your own decisions, but that's pretty much what the song's about.
It's definitely a lot to it, but the growth. I think this is a St. Rose Rocks first, getting a not just unreleased, but still in the works sneak peek song.
Man. Oh yeah, so, we're laying it all out on the line today.
That's awesome. This is what we strive for here. Just making sure the name of the song is "It's Late."
It's late.
It's late by Sydney Schizzano. A super sneak peek for you guys here on St. Rose Rocks.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system. At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
It's late here, I'm laying here, and all I wanna do is talk. I'll call, collect, so I can still collect the memories I'll forget. Stay on the line just for me. I promise you'll feel free tomorrow. Stay on the line another hour. I promise I'll feel fine tomorrow. It's late here, I'm laying here.
If you're satisfied with the message, press 1. To listen to your message, press 2. To erase, press 3. To continue recording where you left off, press 4. Message erased.
Sydney, this has been a phenomenal interview, and I just got to say, it's probably one of the most open and real interviews that we've had here on St. Rose Rocks, and here we are being the last episode that's going to be aired in 2020. My gosh, that's exactly what we need. So thank you.
You sure you want mine to be the last one? Maybe you should rethink that.
It's going to be fine. And besides, that's where the contract ends.
Like, it's too late. I don't know what to tell you. All right.
So, Sydney, regardless, this has been a phenomenal interview, and I can't wait for what it can do for other people out there, and hearing your story and all that you've been able to realize about yourself from your time in college through graduating into this year. Honestly, phenomenal story, phenomenal journey. I can't wait to see what's next. Speaking of what's next, tell us about any upcoming projects that people should be looking forward to. You've mentioned before that you have an album in the works, if you want to talk about that a little bit.
So the album, its tentative name is It's Fine, Everything's Fine, which is, the whole album, again, trying to do this in broad strokes, can't promise anything. The main idea is communication and duality. Even the title itself, It's Fine, Everything's Fine, can be, said in a very sarcastic tone, which me and my friends toss around every time. It's just like, it's fine, everything's fine, I'm not crying, you're crying, we're fine. But it can also be, a really comforting statement from somebody else. Like, sometimes I just need my girlfriend to be like, it's fine, everything's fine, we're gonna be fine, and we're good to go. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just kind of need those statements, either for hilarious catharsism or catharsis, or just like you actually needing to hear that statement. Yeah, the album is pretty much formatted in like two separate parts. The first part is a little bit before, while I'm living in Albany, older songs that I've written. Creeping Creaking is on it. It was a song that I had showcased a little while back. You can listen to the early recording of it on my YouTube, and kind of has that idea of like before and loneliness and dealing with a breakup and dealing with what happens after you graduate college and being like, wow, I have no idea what I need to do with my life, to the second half of the album being, having to move home, but doing an internship where you learn a lot, finally dating this girl that you've been waiting to date for years and falling in love with her, finding your true self, and kind of those two sections of one, 2-year time period of just like so many experiences being pushed your way, and you just kind of having to grab them and deal with them as they come. So that's pretty much what the album is about. We don't have a release date, but follow me on socials and you will be taken along the way, and you'll be able to hear when it's coming out. However, I do have a single coming out sometime in January. Yeah.
Hey.
So that single, we didn't share it today because it's not quite ready yet. We're mixing it. We're tracking it still. So we do have that one in the works, but it will be coming out mid to late January. So keep an eye out on that. It's called I Don't Know UFO. And I'm not even going to go into explaining that one because that'll take way too much time. Keep a lookout out for that one. We had Josh Morris play drums on it. He is dope. And yeah, that's pretty much what's going on. We don't have a release date, like I said, but we're hoping early 2021. So keep an eye out on that.
Sounds good. And you said people should follow you online. Where should they be following you?
Instagram at Sydney Schizzano. Good luck spelling it because it's a hard name to spell. Schizzano. There you go. TikTok. I am doing a Christmas series on TikTok. 25 days of Christmas covers. That's right. So go ahead, take a look at that. At Sydney Schizzano again. My Twitter's like non-existent. Facebook at Sydney Schizzano. All of that stuff. I have a website too, sydneyschizzano.com. All that good stuff. You can listen to me on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, all of the things. Tidal. all of those streaming platforms too. I've got music from the past on there as well. So take a listen to that. I think that's all my socials.
All righty. I think that gives people a lot to work with, and that sounds great. Sydney, thank you so much for being on this episode. I think you've given a lot for our audience to take in, and it's
to digest
in a phenomenal way, in a great way. And I think there's probably a few students that needed to hear some of the things that you were talking about today. So greatly appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Enjoy your holidays.
You too. Thank you so much for having me.
Not a problem. And all of you guys, enjoy your holidays as well. That's a wrap for this limited run of St. Rose Rocks. We are really appreciative that you guys have been tuning in and enjoying all the stuff of all the Golden Knights. One thing's for sure, 2020 has been, as Sydney put it, a dumpster fire of a year. But we still had some phenomenal music and great inspiration and great stories to be told nonetheless. So 21 episodes later, St. Rose Rocks thanks you guys, just as we thank Student Development, Student Association, the St. Rose marketing team. Thank you all for making this part of the year so phenomenal. You guys are the reason that St. Rose rocks. I'm glad we get to spend some time.